further application which becomes much more important of SU2 is that electron and neutrino also form an SU2. But this is left-handed neutrino and left-handed electron. This form a SU2 representation. So there actually exists fundamentally a symmetry which can rotate electron into a neutrino. Now you will say that is very strange because they have different charges and also because they have very different masses. The answer is that the charge difference is not a surprise because we have generators that exchange, that increase and reduce charge, just that tau plus tau minus of Pauli flipped spin up and down. So there are charge changing generators in this, like here delta Q would be equal to delta 3 plus delta Y. So if you had only delta 3 or only delta Y, then charge can change. But the mass difference is huge. There is MEV and there is 0 essentially, whereas these things have approximately same mass. That is what required invention of what is called spontaneous symmetry breaking, and a long story. So, and similarly QL equal to up quark left-handed, down quark left-handed. So the weak forces at the strange, so I may as well write SU2L. The weak forces at the strange property that they afflicted only the left chiral parts of the particles and not the right chiral ones it affected in a different way. So there is this, the ER and UR and DR do not see this SU2L, and the right-handed neutrino state didn't exist as far as most people were concerned for a very long time. Now it does exist, so we may as well add, but we don't know if it exists. Okay, but if it exists, then almost certainly exists, but we don't have a conclusive evidence on this. All of those anyway don't see the weak SU2, the weak isospin SU2. So this is called weak isospin by some abuse of trying to continue the nomenclature isospin, but it has nothing to do with the original isospin. This is completely distinct from the flavor isospin. Okay, we call it weak isospin, but this actually is not the flavor isospin. So there were various SU2s and there was some confusion for quite some time, but eventually it got sorted out. So now we come back to representations of SU3 and method for finding the higher dimensional representations. Main building block is the fundamental representation. Which for SUN, it is n vector, and the column vector of size n. And we have to state this column business importantly, because row and column have very different meaning now. So, column vector of size n. This is the fundamental representation of SUN. We call it fundamental. It's obvious, it's natural, because I have n by n matrices, so they act on this. We call it the fundamental representation. Now, so if I have psi, so just to write the notation, we say psi lower psi I prime equal to uij psi j. I should have written lowercase u because that's what we have been using, but somehow and anyway my notes contains this right now, so I will stick to this. It turns out that psi star is an independent representation. So, psi star I prime would then be equal to uij star psi j star, or which we could write as equal to psi j star and then u dagger ji. The complex conjugate representation is an independent one. You know, the conjugation, because the process of complex conjugation is not within SU3. There is no SU3 operation, and no SU3 matrix can convert a 3-column vector into its complex conjugate. So, psi and psi star are independent, not equivalent under any SU2 operation, SU3 operation. You cannot use any SU3 matrix to convert a psi into a psi star. So, at this point, just to take put an important caveat which is important to a lot of physics, is that SU2 is an exception. The smallest group SU2 has by accident an internal symmetry that can convert its 2-dimensional representation into its complex conjugate. So, although this kind of is a break to the main thing we want to do, because it is important enough, we may as well write it. We can convert a u belonging to SU2 can be made into u star by an SU2 action. And the proof is very simple. It is because u is made up of, you remember it is cos theta by 2 plus I, so it involves the tau matrices. So, the question boils down to whether a matrix exists which takes mu M inverse to u star and M belong to SU2. Okay, that is the question of equivalence. And the answer is that this is exact. So if you want u star, you need to star everything here. Cos theta by 2 minus I times tau star dot n cap sin theta by 2. But now remember what are tau stars. So tau 1 star equal to tau 1, tau 3 star equal to tau 3, but tau 2 star equal to minus tau 2. So what can you propose that will render the signs of the tau 1 and tau 2 opposite, because there is a minus sign here. And the point is that this can also be written by observing that if I have, let me see if I have it written here, the sigma 2 matrix does the job actually, that is the answer. So what we may ask is whether there is a M that takes this to minus tau star. So because of this minus sign, we need to ask for M tau I M inverse equal to minus tau I star. So this arrow is kind of confusing, let me remove it, but just this implies that we need to ask for this to convert this u into a u star. There should be a matrix M which converts the tau I into minus tau I stars, and the answer is that this is done by M equal to sigma 2, that is same as tau 2, I am sorry, tau 2, tau I, tau 2 inverse, but tau 2 inverse is tau 2, actually is what we are looking for. We know tau 1 tau 2 is equal to I tau 3, but tau 2 tau 3 is equal to I tau 1, so is equal to minus tau 1, but tau 1 star is equal to tau 1, so that is same as minus I tau 1 star. Tau 2, tau 2, tau 2, so you can check this, okay. Tau 2, tau 3, this is trivial because tau, this is back to tau 2, and tau 2 is minus of tau 2 star. This tau 2 star is minus of tau 2 because it is an imaginary matrix, so that works out, and similarly this works out by all the same thing. Tau 2, tau 3 is I tau 1, and so tau 2 matrix works, but tau 2 is not an SU2 matrix, but I tau 2 is, okay. So the inverse of I tau 2 is minus I tau 2, because tau 2 square is 1 and I times minus I is 1. So this is equal to minus tau I star, and I tau 2 is actually an SU2 matrix because it is equal to cos pi by 2 plus I tau 2 times sin pi by 2. So, there exists an angle theta and rotation axis direction 2, so that in our earlier notation. So, u y cap pi by 2 is exactly the matrix I tau 2. So, there exists an SU2 matrix which converts SU2 matrices into their own star. So, for SU2 the matrix, the representation and its star are identical. So, this closes our side comment on SU2. So, this but for SU higher SUNs no such thing is available. So, back to the SU3, yeah. So, we had written this notation psi I prime equal to uij psi and psi I star prime are they transform by u adjoint if you treat them as row vectors. Okay. So, what we do now is to construct representations. No, on left multiplication on which one? No, so on the group elements themselves you have to apply similarity transformation, and on the 2 the fundamental, yes, so fundamental you will have to apply I tau 2 onto the fundamental. So, if you want we can complete that bit there, that as a consequence psi SU2 conjugate, so that is a good point. Psi equal to which, what do you like, upon u and d or neutron and proton? UD. So, if you add psi UD, then it goes to I tau 2 times psi star UD, I tau 2 times UD, this. Yes, so it becomes equal to minus d, as I remember. No, so d minus u. And this you have to identify with psi star. The starred representation is equivalent to this. So, it flips UD, but so therefore, there is a bar required on these. So, they change that in particle physics you will have to change their charge, you have to write d bar and u basically, d bar and u bar. So, for the time being let me put inverted commas like this. So, you act on it from the left, but that is identified with u psi star, but psi star has u bar and d bar in it. So, this is what happens to the fundamental by left action, but you do not get anything new out of it, that is the statement. Similarly, so now we go on to the higher dimensional representations, and the two things we want to say is that from the building block of fundamental we construct tensor representations. So what we do is the inequivalent complex representation is written with different placement of the index. So we write psi I prime equal to, and now I have to be very careful, uij psi j, but psi upper I prime equal to uij. So it is transpose actually psi j. So this is u, and this notation actually makes it so this is the notation adopted, okay. Not only is it on the 2 by 2 matrix, not only is it important whether the index is up or down, but where exactly it is located. So if you want, I mean, this is the way to write it, because there is no easy row and column representation anymore in terms of matrix, but this is the notation adopted. And remember that the uij written like this is essentially the u star. So this equation is actually converted to this by lifting the index up, and the u dagger ji's we write like this, and this is the notation adopted. Of course, the inner product is, so the SU2 invariant inner product I will not be able to finish much this time, I think, but inner product is psi I phi I. One index up, one index down makes this an invariant. So we call psi I the defining or fundamental, and psi upper I to be the conjugate. These indices can be raised and lowered using, so there are three, we will be not able to finish everything today, but we will continue next time. But one more thing is that there are three invariant tensors of SU3. One is what we already saw, the inner product. This is nothing but delta ij. This is left invariant by SU2 operations because you apply the u here and u there. So let us write down how it works in this notation. Uik and then u lj delta kl. So if you sum this with this and this with this, so what was the notation? So we had this notation that for the conjugate representation, it is the lower index that couples to the upper index of the conjugate index. So here uik, the k couples to this k, and this L, I think this is fine. So this is the convention we are going to follow, okay. So not the conjugate ones, but the U's themselves. From the U's we can see uik, ulj, but if I multiply it by delta kl, that because U is unitary, this actually calculates U dagger. Okay, so RHS calculates with proper placement of indices. I will just check this. And therefore, it basically gives 1 because U dagger is equal to 1. The other two are epsilon ijk and epsilon ijk. Because the up and down are not equivalent, and you know what this is, it is the Levi-Civita tensor. So, but we have to check that it is invariant, right. So, that is because it calculates determinant of U. Have I written it somewhere? So, JK, what alphabets you like? L, M, N. Equal to det U times epsilon ijk. So, this is actually a theorem. You can check that the epsilon tensor of the correct dimensionality, which is same as size of these matrices. So, epsilon times doing this basically just calculates the determinant of the matrix U. This is a generic result, but in our case determinant U is equal to 1, so it becomes same as epsilon ijk. So, note the general result. In n dimensions. So, sorry, I have to write it like this. I2 I can justify to you in 2 minutes why this is correct, because you know how to calculate determinant, right. You have to select any one element and then keep selecting other elements which are neither in the same row nor same column. So, that is what the epsilon imposes on you. If once I choose this row, I have to next and some column whichever you like, but then I have to take a row which is not the previous one, that is anti-symmetry, and some other column and so on. If I do this choosing any column I like, but the point is I have to keep choosing a different column. So here is the statement. I can keep choosing any columns I like. If I chose any two of the columns the same, I will get 0. Okay. So on the left hand side what it says is you better choose all the columns also distinct, and if you did that thing then you will get determinant of A. That is what this statement is saying. And finally you have to just once make sure of the correct sequence. It is 1, 2, 3, n, that is plus 1, but if it is 1, 3, 2, n, then it is minus 1 and so on. So that all works. So this is the general formula of matrix algebra. And actually this is the way of the symbolic way of defining determinant. We are always taught determinant as a operation, like we just described, but this is the statement of what the determinant is. Okay, so that applied here will give you that the epsilon tensor is invariant, because epsilon tensor, so given this tensor, if I wanted to transform it, what do I have to do? I have to transform each of its index by application of a u. But process of transforming is nothing but, because the tensor itself is epsilon tensor, it produces det u times the corresponding other epsilon, but det u is 1 because it is sun. So the epsilon tensor is an invariant tensor, and similarly the upper epsilon is invariant. The point is that using these you can convert one representation into the other, into another. Okay, so we will stop here with this now, and next time we will finish Young tableaus and the general scheme of what SUN groups are.